put I'm
going to put the stream on. I just realised I hadn't run the stream yet.
Yes.
We are now live, whereas we weren't.
Oh.
Hello, 1, 2. Can you hear me, everybody? Okay, stream. I'm just the stream's coming in. That's good. So I can do that, and I just need to switch some return feeds off. Let me see. So that's our live dashboard. I don't really need to have the video coming back. Live stream is on. Yep, the internet can totally see you. Yes. There we go. I don't need to have those feeds coming back. Yeah, I got you. Excellent. So we have Gaz, who's representing the more the less follically challenged of the audio industry. He's going to come on and make up for all of our lacking, what we lack.
The hirsute member of the group.
Excellent. Right, so you got that. I feel very red today. I wonder if I can change that. Let's have a look. I think I may be... Oh, that's too blue. That's very blue. It's hard to tell. That looks better.
Excuse me.
Okay. Let's go back to fours up. Okay. I beg your pardon. Right, so we're live. Hello, everybody. We're just sort of getting everything set up. Yes, there was no show last week. It wasn't you. It was me. Just in case those people were going, oh... Well, you do. You know, people miss it because they don't get the message. If you didn't watch the previous week, say there is no show next week. I'm pretty sure I remember to say there was no show next week. But there is one this week, and there is one next week. So there we go. That covers everything. But yeah, I was on a holiday. Went to France.
You have a nice time?
It was bizarre. We got there, and it was quite cold. It was like 14, 15 degrees. And then by the end of the week, it was 33. It was just insane. Wow. So I wore all my long sleeve and long legged items of clothes at the beginning of the week, and then all my short legged and short sleeves at the end of the week. Hey guys, how are you doing? Have we got some audio from you?
Let's see. Good sound.
Yep,
nice.
We do have audio,
okay.
And Matt and Rich. Matt, that is right, I think, isn't it? Maths.
Let's have a look. Yeah, with two T's. Maths. Yeah. I know.
Okay, excellent. He's been rebranded.
I've been restamped.
Rebranded, right. Okay, excellent. We have everybody. You can hear us all right, Gaz? Yep.
All good. Yep.
Hey, Gaz.
Excellent.
Hey, hello.
Let's have a look. I'm just getting it. Maybe I've got a bit too much top end on you because you sound a bit hissy.
It's a bit toppy.
I'm using my Shure MV88.
That's interesting. I've got EQ on it already. It's like the it's like the gain input. There's actually gain. There's hiss on. So that's what you can't hear this, but everybody else, did you hear the hiss go away when I turned that down? No, it's probably not.
I'm not hearing it, mate.
Okay, fair enough. It's just me. I mean, I have got the ears of a flying mammal, so that would probably be a reason. Right. Okay. Hey, gosh, we've got 2 minutes in.
I can see now.
Yeah, okay. Everybody can see everything. That's good. Right, so we've got everybody on a fader. And then we've got a bit of this, bit of that, and a bit of the other stuff. All right, let's go and fix it. Right, okay. And we've got a competition. So we're nearly there. Right. Sweet. So I realised we had a chap in yesterday who filming for Ableton who's got an aversion to LED pulse width. The frequency sets off migraines, so he has to use PCs because Macs have got this weird dither chip in the display system that runs at a specific frequency that freaks out a very small percentages of people's brain waves and gives them all sorts of horrific side effects. He's one of those guys. So we had to reset the studio for tungsten, which we don't normally use. Unfortunately, it wasn't that hot yesterday, so we lit with tungsten rather than with LED to sort of keep him alive while he filmed. and tungsten does look great, but I overwrote my podcast preset. Damn, in the heat of the moment.
Oh.
Okay, actually, I'm just going to step away very quickly. I just realised I have a call of nature to attend to.
Who's that on the keyboard?
What's that?
This is the SSP percussor.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely bonkers. I mean, it's the biggest thing in Eurorack in terms of size, but what it can do, oh my word, it's just absolutely. Yeah, I've only had a couple of days, but and I've just built a simple polyphonic patch.
Okay.
Isn't that an oxymoron? The biggest thing in Eurorack?
Oh, yeah. The biggest thing in Eurorack. It's so big. I mean, look, it takes up half of my rack. But what I think it's doing is going to replace the small ones. Yeah, that's all I need. I'll just go back to using a laptop.
Right. Okay, so everybody's still here, everybody's still moving and motion, everything. Right, okay, let's do a show, man. I think I can press the button. Oh. Rich, you're typing like a demon.
Oh, is it Rich?
All right, I'll stop. Sorry. I'm a piano player.
I'm trying to think what Foley.
Look at these things. What am I going to do?
It's like a Foley thing. We could figure out what that could be used for in a Foley overdub.
I've got the paws of a grizzly bear. What am I going to do?
Right, I'm just setting up my backup recording, which I'll get going because I often forget. Okay, here we go. Stand by and action. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 578. That's recording today, Wednesday, the 5th of June. Which is we're this is quite a sort of transatlantic day because we've got Rich, we've got your beloved leader over here as well. Well, you're in the country too. Actually, you're in the UK, so everybody from the US is in the UK, and we're celebrating, or I think they're commemorating the D-Day landings and the spirit of the UK and US collaboration over those periods. So it's quite an important day, but we're not a history podcast at all. We're actually a music technology podcast, which is everything to do with recording and writing music, electronic music, performance, all of that kind of stuff, everything that works in the world surrounding music production and electronic music and performance of it. So I want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining us. In fact, thank you to our sponsors. We've got Isotope, who will of course be giving away a copy of RX-7, and we've got last show's winner. There's no show last week because I was on holiday, and I'll tell you about that in a bit. And also, thank you very much to Softtube. We'll be telling you about their Parallels synth, which is a very great sounding soft synth. Anyway, let's say hello to some of our people. We'll start with Mr. Rich Hilton because he's in the UK, and I gave you a bit of a teaser earlier. Rich, are you in London at the moment? Are you kind of a pre-gig kind of hanging about stage, or are you got a day off?
None of the above. Nice try, though.
Damn.
I'm in Belfast.
Right, okay.
And between two nights gigs, which I'm going to play one in 4 hours. And we have, we played the same venue last night, so I've got the afternoon free, and here I am.
Oh, nice! The rare occasion where you've got like two in a row or more in a row, so you don't have to go and sign. You probably do a line check, I'd imagine, and then just the rest of the time is free. And that must be nice. How's Belfast? Is it sunny?
No, it's not sunny.
Oh, how disappointing!
But how is it? It's It's Northern Ireland. They say it rains 300 days a year here.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. Well, where I've just come from.
Yeah.
where I've just come from, it wasn't raining. It rained at the beginning of the week and then got insanely hot because I was on holiday last week, which was that. But
Right.
So before, yes. Anyway, Rich, I should qualify what we just said by you're performing with Chic, which is where you're the keyboard player, but you also do Nile Rodgers studio stuff. So he's a man on the road on tour. In fact, a lot of our panelists are on the road at the moment. We've got Charles Chicky Reeves and Robbie Bronneman, and I think there's somebody else. Is there? Who else is on the road? Somebody else is on the road. Anyway, so you're in good company.
They're even together on the road, those guys.
That's true. Yeah, they are, aren't they?
They're touring the same show.
Actually, that looks good because I've seen some clips of the Howard Jones live tour, and it looks really good. It looks like they've got a really good setup and got the tech kind of really interesting with projections and all stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to talk to Robbie about that. And we've also got Mr. Matthew Hodson, Matt Hodson, Maths, as he's now known, his performing artiste name. Last time we saw you, Matt, was Superbooth, where you were. You were very kindly talking to us, even though you had a sound check, and you were very chilled, considering that it was you'd had a venue change and all of those things. How was Superbooth for you?
It was great, and thanks for doing that video as well. The feedback and the comments were really, really nice. What people put on there, it was very full on that weekend, as Superbooth usually is. But I was also doing 2 gigs in one day. I played the evening before at Seabase doing a kind of hard techno set, and then when you came to see me and we did the rig rundown, that was an indoor gig. We got rained off outside, so we came indoors and we was frantically setting up, and I think we were sound checking and hitting the drums and stuff while I'm trying to run you through how my modular works and all that kind of stuff. But it was good. It was really good. You can't complain, and that's what it's all about. It's sort of playing live, performing live with electronic music. It's never going to be like turn up, plug and play. It's dead simple. It's part of the challenge, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I have to say, and I was concerned about this at the time, we were very concerned about your adapter chain coming out of your Eurorack into, it was about this high with the final cable coming out, and it was, we weren't happy. Nobody was happy about that.
That was for the drummer. I wasn't happy about that. There was a few comments on that. That was for the drummer to get headphone feed, but I've sorted that out now. What else have we been doing? I've had this released, my first vinyl. So that's just come out. Well, don't know if you can see that. That's available.
Hooray.
And you can actually, I'm giving away 10 copies. If you go to my website, you just stick your name in, and then I'm giving away 10 copies of that.
That's maths with two T's.com.
Yes.
Is that right?
Maths with 2 T's, maths.com.
There we
It's
go.
a mouthful, isn't it?
You got the plug.
I made a mistake there.
Well, good SEO. I'm pretty sure nothing else will show up. So, that's going to work out well for you.
Yeah, hopefully.
Anyway, lovely to have you, Matt. Also, you're still working in, I guess, you're still involved in the BIMS thing?
Yeah.
Where you're one of the guys
still working
the
BIM,
courses?
we just finished. Just been doing a load of marking, which is the best time of year because you're getting to see what all the students have been up to and what have you. So it's a lot of work, but it's really good. It's the bit that I really enjoy. Obviously, I really enjoyed the teaching as well, but the marking side is just great to see what they've been doing. It's brilliant.
Excellent.
So, enjoying it. Great.
Lovely to have you. And, of course, last but certainly not leastest, Mr. Gaz Williams, who's there in Bristol, bass player, music technologist, amongst other things. How are you, Gaz? Are you well?
Yeah, good. Bit festival frazzled, so still just trying to, blooming get back to normal after 2 weekends of festivals and all the related shenanigans.
Wow.
So God, it does start to take its toll a little bit as you get older, but I just can't resist. I know.
How was the weather?
Yeah, it was okay. It was a bit intermittent, but I was at one called this weekend called Blue Lagoon, which is in right at the very southwesterly tip of Wales, St David's. Beautiful. What a beautiful spot. And lovely festival. And because I was mentioning it before, I think, on the last show, that this is the stuff we were rehearsing up for Rocket Gold Star.
Oh, yeah.
And what was really super nice at the gig was just loads of the old fans were there from way, way back. So it was just lush. It was just really, really lovely. So I had a great time, and the band played so well. I was so proud of them. And just I think we're gonna do more stuff now. I think it was sufficiently positive.
It's a catalyst.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but yeah, it's great.
So here's a
Great. I took
question.
the-
So as proggers, you know, because obviously
Pop proggers.
pop proggers, that they're the part of what that generally entails is the sort of almost it's sort of musical acrobatics to a degree, and it's sort of some virtuosoism. Do you set the goalpost differently as you get a little older? Do you try not to go so fast, or do you change the, you know, is it more about the concept gets more difficult, or do you actually still kind of go for the real million miles an hour hard to play stuff? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think with that band, it just the stuff just comes out the way it does, and I think, in fact, it probably comes out more complex now in a way. But we are going to. I think we're going to do a pop album next. That's our plan. But I think. You know, so short songs, but I reckon within the space of short songs, kind of chorus, verse, chorus kind of songs, I think there'll be kind of lots of twiddle. We can't help it. But
That's a
but
challenge.
yeah, it was great at the festival. Though I was sort of bumping into people I hadn't seen in years, but also it was kind of one of those festivals where guys from the Osric Tentacles and sort of the Wizards of Twiddly, speaking of Twiddle, were there, and you know,
is that a real band name?
Actually.
Wow, awesome.
The one thing that really blew me away, though, was there was an 11-piece Afrobeat band from Bangor in North Wales, who all sort of middle-aged white men playing Afrobeat way better than they had any right to. They were absolutely stunning, and I just can't figure it out for the life of me. Really, really good drumbago. Yeah, that was one of my
okay,
highlights.
awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that everybody's had a good couple of weeks. And like I say, I had a holiday and it was hot. Only problem was the place where we went to had a lot of, shall we say, property maintenance issues. One blocked pipage, so we had a major flood. And then 2 major electrical issues, so we had major no power. So it was a bit stressful. Every time someone went to the loo, it was like, is it going to be okay? Is it not going to be okay? Every time we put the oven on, it's like, are we going to finish it? Is it going to be okay? I don't know. So it's quite nice to get home and find that most of the stuff works. But anyway, so yeah, topics. I mean, stuff. I think what I'm going to start with, you know, we had the Apple WWC, and there are a couple of big topics from this week. And I think, I don't think I downloaded this because I thought, yeah, here we go. Let's just have a look. I mean, this is the big news. We've finally got a Mac Pro, right? So here it comes. Oh, in fact, what I need to do is set my audio to be the right thing. That's the one thing I forgot.
Possibilities for customization. Central to the Mac Pro design is a precision stainless steel space frame that also functions as handles and feet. It is the structural
It kind of looks like a towel rail, actually. That I wouldn't mind that in my bathroom.
The space frame provides 360-degree access to the interior, as well as multiple mounting points for a variety of different components.
To meet the diverse demands of our professional users, the dual-sided logic board is built for configuration and expansion. The new Xeon processor has up to 28 cores and can run...
Anyway, we won't play the whole thing, I know, as I'm very fond of saying, and I'm saying it again today. But finally, we have a new Mac Pro, and there seems to be a bit of a I mean, it's top end. So when we say top end, it starts at $6,000 US, but what you'll get, the capabilities you're getting in there are more than we probably need as audio people. They're aiming this at the high end, you know, video people, the video crowd, which is a shame because we're gearheads and we like pretty things, and it does look pretty and it does look like the sort of thing I'd quite like to have as a thing for the expandability. But you know, so it's an interesting shift because most of the other range is massive. I know, Rich, I know you got some strong feelings about this. I mean, there's been a lot of bitching about how expensive it is, you know, and what you get, and you could buy a PC for the same, you know, for much, but all that kind of stuff is going on, right? As you ever. But here it finally is, at least, right?
It seems like a beautiful product to me, and it addresses a market that everybody was suspecting Apple was ready to abandon in a very, very vigorous and comprehensive way. Because for a post house starting at $6,000 to be able to get, I think it's 8 PCI slots, at least 7 of which are available, and which will support 6 Avid cards. Not running any of Avid software yet, but they'll get there. But still, it's an impressive piece of design. The expandability options are really impressive. It's not for you and me. And it doesn't need to be for you and me, because the computers they're making today that are for you and me are outstanding computers, way, way better than they've had in a long time. There was a period where they were pretty fallow on desktop computer releases, and they had sort of turned into a watch and iPhone company. And this is a very, very, the last year and a half, 2 years has shown they've completely put out a nice, complete range of reusable computers. And they say that today's Mac Mini will outperform a 2013 Mac Pro. So you buy a few slots and you're right back in the game.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I mean, it feels like this. They've made something that everybody really wants, because we, as audio professionals, a lot of the audio people have used Apple for years, and you would traditionally be buying the top end machine because that was kind of up against what you notionally needed to run audio. But as we've said for a long period of time now, we kind of don't need that sort of power. I don't know. What do you think, Gaz? I mean, it does look pretty, doesn't it? It really does.
It's it's from a design point of view, it's really interesting that it's an utter abandonment of the trash can and a return to the cheese grater. Even more so. It looks even more like a cheese grater.
You get a much coarser grate of cheese on this one, I think.
Cheese. But it is. It's interesting how that it's kind of made the Mac Pro, the trash can Mac Pro, much more of an anomaly now. That it's a complete rejection of everything that kind of stood for, really, and a return to the previous. It really looks like it should have been the follow up to the to the older generation of desktops.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So obviously I'm stuck with my trash can Mac here, which, to be honest, from a music point of view, my Mac has tons of legs left in it. It's not. I'm not looking to upgrade that, but it is a video. I mean, it is a video issue that when I do, I've done a little bit of 4K stuff there. The Thomann Synth Reactor stuff was all filmed in 4K, and 4K just brings my Mac Pro to its knees, and it's like, a lot of RAM in there, and but it's sort of so. I think if you are in the video game, then this looks like, and in the professional game as well, and also I think actually when you look around the pricing of it, I think it's it is expensive, but this is it's aimed very much at a professional market, so I don't think it's too much of a problem. And to back up with what Rich was saying, the new Mac Mini, it has incredible benchmark figures, especially.
It's a bit of a classic, isn't it? It's a bit of a classic.
You get the next one up from the base one, and you've got a very capable machine for a reasonable price. So, so all the market's kind of catered for in a way. So there's a lot of griping going on. I don't necessarily think that's that fair, particularly, but I don't think I'll be getting one. Not for a few.
Not for a decade or so.
Unless something happens that I can't predict, I won't be getting one.
No. I know.
Yeah, but good though. Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm there are other parts of that Apple thing, if we can talk about later, that is more interesting to me. But
I think so. Yeah. I know, Matt. Sorry, Matt. Is it the sort of thing that an education establishment would think would need to get for some of the video courses that you do? I mean, it sort of feels like it might, or would you?
Maybe it's still slightly overkill. I mean, I think this is really aimed more at the post-production market. All the studios you walk into around the world, Macs, post-production houses, Macs, as far as I'm aware, and like Rich said, we thought that Apple were kind of moving out of that world, that high-end, super high-end world, and here they are back in action. I think it's definitely aimed at something like that. You think about all of that digital output that's coming out of people who are creating stuff for Netflix and Amazon, all those movies and things like that, and chucking all big digital files around and things like that. You need a power horse like this. So maybe not something that we're going to see in classrooms just yet. You mentioned the Mac Minis. I mean, they're super powerful as they are. My studio is this thing that I'm broadcasting through now, which is a laptop with, maxed out with RAM and what have you. But one of the things that I'm interested to see that I probably would look at now is getting one of the second-hand black bins. The version. I think that's what Gaz has got. Let's see the price on those go down in the second-hand market, maybe, because they're powerful beasts as well for what they are.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's and way more portable. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that we're not seeing. I mean, I started to price up some of the individual elements just because I thought I wonder what those are. And I couldn't find I think the base model, the Radeon Pro 50X, is around about £300 to £500 just for the video card, and I think they've got a special version. So it's probably even a little bit more than that. And I think the 8-core Xeon W that is £1,000 just for the CPU. If you were to buy the CPU and stick it on a motherboard, it would cost you £1,000 from a parts only place. So and when you got the power supply and all of the kind of networking, because it's got 10 gigabit, it's got 10G networking, it's got lots of Thunderbolt. It's it's designed to move a lot of data around very, very fast, so it's quite future proof. I mean, I think you're right though. It feels like it's sort of something that what it feels reminds me of is the old Silicon Graphics workstations, which were the things that the post houses use. It's what Pixar used to use, and the people that you buy render farms and the Silicon Graphics workstations. And when I was working on CD-ROMs and one of the team was animating, that's what they were hankering after. But they were like way off in the distance price-wise, and that's kind of what these have become, because the disparity between how much you need for a maxed-out audio system and how much you need for a maxed-out video system is enormous. I mean, you wouldn't even touch the sides on that, assuming everything worked, because obviously it's only going to be probably running Catalina, which is going to be a new OS, and there's going to be all of those issues that you will inevitably get with a new thing. But I'm feeling surprisingly unhostile to the Mac stuff, because I'm usually quite critical about it, because I think they haven't done some things very well, and I think this one they've just gone, okay, you want a high-end machine, this is a high-end machine.
That's what I respect. They've just gone, check this. You want a high-end spec, right? Here you go then. Wham! Here it is, full on. Let's have it, and the price goes along with it. I'm afraid that's what you're going to pay for it, but they're offering it, and it's there.
Yeah,
so.
You do get, there is a premium. I mean, I think the thing that kind of made it a bit laughable was when they introduced the $1,000 monitor stand, and you kind of think, maybe you could have made not such a big deal about that, because that makes it seem like it queers the pitch for the other stuff, I think. And I think from a PR point of view, perhaps not the best thing. Rich is not agreeing. He's not agreeing with that. I know we had a chat beforehand. You think
they didn't make a big deal about it. They blew right by it, which is why everybody in the audience gasped. But besides that, if you're spending $40,000 on a computer, you'll spend $1,000 on a frickin' stand. It's nothing to you. People who are buying these things, who buy really, really high-end premium stuff, aren't thinking like that. They want it to look good. They want the right look. They'll pay for it.
Yeah,
those people are going to pay for it. Yeah. This isn't a product for you and me. I'm telling you, these people who are going to spend that much money on a computer don't even blink at $1,000 for a monitor stand. Yeah. People I know who buy arms to fly the thing over their console are spending most of that anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess so. So I wonder. I mean, I don't know that.
Starter.
Yeah, no, okay, that's fair enough. Anyway, I thought it was worth covering that, and there are lots of other Apple matters that came up, and I will try and sprinkle them in as well. I know, Gaz, you've got some stuff to talk about, but I wanted to get that out of the way. And first of all, while we're going, let's do our spot for Isotope.
RX continues to be the industry standard and leader in audio repair for music and post-production. And with RX-7, we've introduced groundbreaking new ways to quickly and easily fix and manipulate audio. Take the game-changing Repair Assistant, an intelligent helper that can detect noise, clipping, clicks, hum, and more. Also new in RX-7 is Music Rebalance, a powerful source separation tool. Drums too loud? Vocals not loud enough? Let's fix that. You can also create instrumental versions of songs by removing the vocal elements. You can now alter the pitch without affecting the timing of your audio, and conversely, alter the time without affecting the pitch with the new variable time and variable pitch modules. Using the new dialogue contour, you can improve the performance of a line or even create a new performance by altering the pitch contour of the dialogue, therefore adjusting the intonation of the speaker, and introducing Dialogue Dereverb, a module powered by machine learning to reduce the presence of reverberations around dialogue. RX-7, a new frontier in audio repair.
And I guess one of the things that the new Mac will allow, if you saw our Meet the Makers interview with Mark Athia, who is the CEO at Isotope, he was saying, when we get real power available, we're going to be able to do some amazing real-time stuff. And I guess that's one thing that would work on this. But yeah, Isotope RX-7, if you want to check that out, go over to isotope.com and check it out. And we have a winner for last week's show. Not last show. This is a guy called Angry Photo Guy called Andrew. He wins the competition for the last show. Let me repair some audio so I can mess it up again. Go to Audio Tools RX-7. Yeah, so well done. You are the winner of that show. So if you want to get in touch, we'll get the prize out to you. And also, we've got another competition for this week, which is we're looking for the RX Can Fix It hashtag. That's all one word. And RX and the hashtag RX7 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. It's a Twitter competition, so you do need a Twitter account. And there's plenty of other characters available, so put some other stuff in there as well, because I know that both us and Isotope do check those out. So the hashtag we're looking for is RX Can Fix It and the hashtag RX7 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. And that'll enter you to win a copy of RX7, which, as if you're familiar with the podcast by now, you'll know that pretty much all of us use in some capacity. Fantastic stuff for restoring and just kind of taking care of audio. Okay, right. Oh, yeah, this was cool. Did you see the... let's have a look. The Scoring Chernobyl. This was an HBO series that I'm not going to be able to pronounce her name. Right, Hilda... Yeah, good Natir. I'm not even going to try. I feel terrible. I should have probably looked up a proper phonetic pronunciation of this. But the video that we got, she basically... it's a series on HBO, and she took all of this... sounds from it was a Lithuanian. It was filmed on location in a Lithuanian power station that was being decommissioned, and she recorded a load of ambience there with the help of a guy, field recorder called what's his name? His name was Chris Watson, who does all the Richard Attenborough stuff, field location. So really knows what he's doing, and probably great. And built a lot of the soundtrack exclusively out of those tones and room tones and noises. And it's just, people have been raving about it, and lots of people say it's a fantastic piece. I've not seen it because I don't subscribe to any of these kind of series. Who said Chris Watson? I'm assuming that you maybe, Matt, have seen it or do watch this, because I know it has aired, hasn't it?
It has aired, and no, I haven't seen it. I've just read a lot about it. I was just intrigued about this whole process of them going and recording the sounds of the place it was at, basically, and then designing this score from it. Yeah, I think things like that were always interesting. My understanding is Chris Watson was the main guy in charge with actually doing the sampling and recording there, and then she then took those sounds and then interpret that and use those sounds within the actual score. So that it was kind of like a joint team effort there. And I think the result is really interesting. I do have to say, though, I mean, as much as I'm a fan of this, and I think that you get inspired by place and sound and, the timbre you can extrapolate from there as starting points for composition or sound design. I'm wondering if when we do actually sit back and watch it, if we're like, if it does pull together the visual and the audio in a way subliminally that we're not aware of, or would it have really mattered if they'd have just sampled a load of sounds in their bathroom and then sort of put it together?
Not as good a story though, is it? It's got a nice philosophical kind of, it's we like the it's almost like a concept album, Gaz. I thought I'd come to you for that.
Yeah,
it's like a concept album essentially, isn't it? So
yeah.
Well, she said that, you know, she wasn't being particularly proactive in the capturing of sounds there. I think that's what he was doing more. She was just absorbing the atmosphere of the environment, and I just kind of think that would then really influence the approach to the composition, just sort of like the feeling,
the sense of atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, just having been there and she was just trying to really absorb that feeling, not absorb the radiation, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, I'm quite interested in this now. I don't really do hardly anything. I hardly watch any drama at all. But funnily enough, this has actually piqued my interest now.
I think it is actually showing on one of the terrestrial channels here sometime soon. I'm sure I saw an advert on TV.
Okay.
Maybe I got that wrong.
Cool.
Worth checking out.
But I really do love immersive. Well, you know, when I've been involved in anything that's like an immersive project, you know, I love trying to live it. You know, I really love trying to, and there's various things that I've done in the past. Nothing quite like this, of course, but. I remember we used to go to this, it's not there now, but it was an incredible derelict factory in Bryn Mawr in South Wales. It was the old Semtex factory where, and it had like this incredible ceiling. It was the biggest freestanding ceiling of its time. I think it's built in the 1940s. It became a little bit of a strange thing in a way, because they couldn't use it for anything, and they couldn't demolish it because it was like listed. So it was just this big, you know, and from the outside it looked incredibly ugly. But you went inside and it was just this amazing space. And the echoes and the reflections in there, it was just an amazing place. And we wanted to go back there to do a recording, but then it was all demolished.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's disappointing.
It was because it was such a profound and interesting sound in there. So yeah, so this is definitely interesting to me for sure. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I know, it's cool. Rich, I don't know. I mean, you've done a load of soundtrack work, and to a degree, there's always a kind of philosophical approach to how you might design a motif or choose a sound or whatever. I mean, stuff that you've done with Niall. I know you. I mean, some of the Scorsese movies, right?
No, never have worked with Martin Scorsese. We did a bunch of John Landis movies.
John Landis, okay, I beg your pardon.
And we worked with William Friedkin. And we've worked with Julian Temple, and I personally have spent a little time with Francis Coppola. But relative to the design aspects that you were just referring to, Niall's work was very significant in the movie Coming to America to establish the African sort of crossover theme that pervaded the plot and the movie, and was very, I think, intelligently applied to aspects of the score, including the rather elaborate dance sequences that were done. So I have been privy to a little bit of that, but not on the level of like working at Media Ventures on a regular basis or anything like that. You know?
Sure.
I was very impressed with her and with this video and with that vision. I want to point out that she says that they worked at an abandoned power station in Lithuania. They didn't go anywhere near Chernobyl.
Oh no, yeah, there was a power station that was being decommissioned in Lithuania. That's right, yeah.
Right, and so they had access to those noises and the atmosphere and the vibe of what being in a power station is like. But they didn't go anywhere near Chernobyl, and nor should they have.
I would have thought not.
And it's really inspired, as Gaz said, piqued my curiosity now, and I'm definitely going to have to watch this series now because I'm very curious to hear the soundtrack.
Well,
there's been some amazing soundtrack work. You know, this is one great example, though. Them envisioning using all of this sound as the entire source material for the score creation is pretty ambitious and really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Fun fact from the chat room, I think it's gone past now, but apparently Chris Watson, back in the day, used to be in Cabaret Voltaire.
Yeah.
get that
Wow.
then. Yeah, so he must have quite an interesting ear because I mean, Cabaret Voltaire, one of the earliest UK electronic acts and experimental stuff. Okay, well, you could check it out. I can't. Hilda Gunguanader. I really don't know how to pronounce that at all. I'm terribly sorry, Hilda. But there's also, if you check on, there's an interview with her that was done from On the Score podcast, which you can see on Synthtopia. It's a bit more philosophical. There's not so much of the technical stuff in there, which but there you go. Right, okay, what's next? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, of course. This is. What do you think about this, Gaz? It's finally you're in it, actually.
I have to say, I've never seen anything quite like it. It's just so.
This
incredible,
is
incredible synth. It's just so.
Oh no!
It totally blew me away.
So yeah, this is the Game Changer Audio Motor Synth, which we saw. We initially saw the technology at NAMM. We gave them an award for it, and that was last year. And then at Superbooth, they kind of had this synth, which is motor synth, which they've launched on. Indiegogo, I think it is. Is it Indiegogo? And everybody is always saying, "Oh, this is ridiculous, hipster nonsense. Nobody's going to want to buy this." But check this out. So the last time I checked, it was at 219. So basically, they've only launched it quite recently, and it's basically 439% funded. A fixed goal, which is amazing, and they've had all sorts of great endorsements. They've had endorsements from Jean-Michel Jarre, Richard Devine, and reactions from Gaz and Chris Calcutt and people, and everybody really responded to it quite powerfully. Whether or not that might have been this is rubbish or this is amazing and a unique thing. The idea is based on drone motors that change speed very, very quickly, and it's got an induction pickup in it. I thought it was an optical thing, but it's not. Apparently, it's an induction pickup, and so they're used to create the pitches. There are 8 wheels in it, which means that you get 2 oscillators per voice. So it's a 4-voice thing. So who'd have thunk it? I don't know. I'm kind of tempted now. Did you see the original? Have you seen this before, Rich? Because I know we showed it when we did the Superbooth thing. I can't remember if you're on the post Superbooth episode that we did. So
I was not aware of this thing until this morning when I watched the video, and I'm blown away by it. And think it's a truly cool and unique thing, and some part of me wants to own it.
It's that thing, isn't it?
I may someday.
It's a piece of art. I think they're going for around. They sold out a whole load because they did sort of 43 and 28. So there's only 30% offs, which are $899. So the discounts are decreasing, but you can still buy them. I remember they came up to me.
It's expensive.
It is expensive, but it's bespoke, and there's nothing in there really, probably that's quite.
No, it's beautiful, and it's beautiful. It's totally constructed and mechanical and wonderful, and I get why it costs. It's not expensive for what it does. It's just a little more than I'm going to spend on a synth today.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way of putting it. You were at Superbooth as well, Matt. Did you get a chance to check it out? Because everybody was flocking over there. It was like a pilgrimage, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It was hard to get near it. And the sounds coming from it were just ridiculous. Absolutely great. And I have to agree, there's nothing that I've got in here that remotely sounds anything like it. So in terms of it being something as a viable purchase, that's going to give you some different tones. Absolutely. And it's more than the fact that it's just the design and the way it actually works with the mechanisms and things. It's more than that. It's actually the sound of it that is producing. It's so kind of visceral. There's one thing that I noticed. I don't know if you picked up on this, but because of the mechanisms using the wheels, pretty much every time I was playing with it, you always got a slight soft attack on every single sound because you're waiting for them to spin up. Did you ever is there a way around that? Because
I don't think so. I think that they're using drone motors, which are very responsive. So it's, I'm sure that, but they're not as quick. Yeah, you're going to find it hard to get an absolute hard edge to it. Yeah.
I asked him about the envelopes.
Sorry.
So just the envelopes are digital, though. I kind of assumed that the envelopes would be sort of like the motor's spinning up to attack and decay.
Well, the pitch, yeah, but
slowing down.
you do get that with the pitch because obviously there's a certain amount of lag, isn't there? There's bound to be.
But yeah, but I mean, it definitely does sound unique, though, doesn't it? I mean, it's a very aggressive sounding synth, I think, and it like an angry, real angry sound. It did very, very well. There was some concerns about the tuning over various octaves. I don't know about that. That's just some sort of grumblings that I picked up on. But yeah, look at it. I mean, there's interesting set of controls on there, and there's a unique approach. It's not just the motors. There's a whole bunch of design ideas in it, which is nice. Again, nice to see a oscilloscope there on the right hand side of it. But it is a sort of want. It does kind of get you wanting it in a rational. I don't know how I would use it necessarily musically, but I want it.
Yeah, it's as the Crest head in the studio says, it's almost Russian. It's got that kind of slightly insane, like Soma Laboratories, and it reminds me a little bit of a early Porter studio. For some reason, I guess it's the cassette wheels kind of vibe. But yeah, I mean, amazing that something so niche, because I don't know if I've already said this. They came up to me. I was outside just taking a break, and the guys came up to me. The guy in the video came up and said, "Oh, what do you think? Do you think it's going to go? We're a bit worried that perhaps it's just a bit too gimmicky, or people aren't going to get it." And I'm just really pleased to see that it's worked out, and they've just got way more interest than they need. And I hope that means that they can do what they do, and they don't do that thing. I haven't seen if there are any stretch goals on this actually, because that's the promise that you've got to be really, really careful, haven't you? Because you don't really want to add any stretch goals that are
dangerous.
That are going to be hard to deliver. So it doesn't look like they have. It seems like they've been quite sensible about that, because they made other stuff before. They made the plasma distortion, which is an amazing looking thing as well.
Yeah,
they also made that sustain pedal. That's like a guitar sustain pedal, but in the shape of a piano sustain pedal. Do you remember that thing?
Right.
That's
No,
the same company. I think that's the same company.
Is that them?
So it uses like a kind of like a layered sort of freeze kind of motion, but it looks like a piano sustain pedal. I'm sure that's the same guys.
Oh, I don't know.
I hope it is.
I don't know what it's called now. I couldn't find it.
Piano Plus, I think it's called.
All right, I'll do a search on that.
But the plasma. They had the plasma pedal, which came out last year. They had it. They were showing it in a rack this time as well, where the plasma display was really huge. So just as an object for your rack, it just looks absolutely amazing. Yeah. I mean, as a fuzz, it's quite a. There it is. That's the same guy, isn't it? Look at that.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It certainly is.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that may have been their first product. It was the first one that I saw of this company anyway, and that thing is quite useful because of the by approaching it like a piano sustain pedal, it's got a very kind of clear, this is what it does, and it works pretty well. I've had a go of it. I thought it was quite good. It's not exactly the same as a sustain pedal, obviously, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So they're really a company who, I mean, if they're going to call themselves Game Changer Audio, that's that's quite a dangerous name.
That's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is kind of.
So far, the three things they've put out then are really interesting and very different from each other. So clearly kind of some quite radical thinking. I'm just trying to remember where they're from, though. Are they Estonian or were they Latvian?
I think they're from Estonia. I think they're from Estonia. I think they are, yeah. I believe so. But,
yeah, I like the fact that you've got companies like this kicking out these sort of products, because as much as we want to work quickly in the studio and jump to the things and get ideas down as quick as you can, it's great when things like this come along and just make you sort of be inspired to work with something again, in a different way. And I think that's really important that we keep doing that within the music production world, music technology world, that as well as familiarity in what we're using, you're getting something that's going to keep inspiring you. So I think this is great. A bit like the Soma drum machine.
Yes. Well, that was the product of the show for me, as we talked. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want that one. I think I just need to do another little bit of administration. So I'm going to play you this piece from Soft Tubes, the parallel synth. No, I'm not. I press the right button. I do beg your pardon. Softube Parallels, of course, as a plug-in soft synth. Their first actual dedicated soft synth instrument that's not based on modular, with dual wave scanning source sections, almost 100 high-quality pre-recorded multi-waveforms with a lot of timbral shifting between them, so you can move around quite a lot and create some incredible sonic progressions within each waveform. So infinite source material. 2 parallel sources means blended sounds, opening up many more possibilities. Up to 14 voices, 7 per source when both sources are active. Hundreds of presets from BT, Richard Devine, Inholt and more. 3 analog filter types, state variable, Vactor LPG and resonant peaks, which take some of their nads from the modular stuff, which as we know is really good quality. 5 sophisticated types of modulation source, LFO, random, Euclidean, sequencer, step sequencer and envelope. Plus, we've got 5 top quality effects options, distortion, chorus, flanger. And we did a video of it at Superbooth, and it sounded absolutely great, I have to say. Christopher Ulvis did a great demo for it, so do check it out. I don't think there's an offer on at the moment, but I think it's about $149. You just head over to softube.com and try it out. Okay. Well, Gaz, I know there's other Apple news, so maybe I should come back to that, because one of them is iTunes. They're finally ditching the kind of iTunes as an overall application, aren't they? But I mean, I don't know if you had other stuff you wanted to talk about.
Well, that is a big one. I kind of feel good riddance to it in a way, because, well, not so much the iTunes bit itself, but the way that it's been the portal for the iOS, for all the iOS devices, and it's felt such a clunky method of doing that for such a long time that I'm really glad that phase is coming to an end. I've been using Apple Music now for a few years and really like it. So.
Well, that's getting combined into the. There's going to be 3 apps in Catalina: music, podcasts, and TV. So they're 3 separate apps. Yeah. Yeah.
So what they haven't seemed to have clarified, though, is how are you going to sort of interact with your iPhone and your iPad in terms of like the way it's been in the past, like regarding backing up and sort of data transfers, but. That's
well, from what I've been reading, is at iOS. It's at the actual OS level now, so that'll mean that there's a bit, because I think a lot of that kind of that sandboxing was to do with management of digital rights. So perhaps if they remove that and then make the ability to move files in and out of the device at Finder level or at OS level, it might actually be a bit of a finally we might end up with something that most of us can use. I don't know.
So, I mean, obviously, the big news I wanted to kind of celebrate really was the iPad OS. Really, I think that is that to me was the biggest thing from the WWDC event, as it kind of acknowledges the iPad as its own thing rather than a big iPhone. It's there's many advantages of this iPad OS. Chiefly that you can read off USB drives, SD cards.
That's okay. Thank God for that. Finally.
Exactly. Finally. Now, what we don't know, or if anyone could tell me, I would be really, really happy to know this, is if that gets around, if you can see any file that's on a drive.
Yeah,
because we've had this ludicrous situation of not being able to import audio files off a drive, and and I think I might have mentioned this before, but when I was at this Toadman event, so this is the thing now. So being able to actually have unrestricted access to your files and being able to bring things in to so if you're using something like LumaFusion, which is getting a massive update, by the way, that's a video editor.
It's a really good application.
The LumaFusion 2 is just about to drop. If you are interested in that, I think if you get it before before LumaFusion 2 comes out, you buy it for the price of LumaFusion 1. So if you're on the fence about that, I would get it. LumaFusion 2 is going to really open up the iPad, especially as a video editing platform. Like I was mentioning earlier, with 4K on my Mac Pro and how it's really brings it to its knees, it on my iPad Pro, totally opposite. It you can just fling 4K around with gay abandon. It's just like
it's astonishing, isn't it? It is astonishing.
Yeah,
it is astonishing.
So, but you had this ridiculous situation though that
you can't.
You take a field record, you take a bunch of cameras and a field recorder, and then you go to bring in all your video files, fine. You go to bring in your field recordings, you can't. I mean, it's just been stupid, and I've been really angry about it for many years. So, but this is the thing now. It's like, now I know it's coming. It's like 3 months away. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Rich, do you have any sort of strong feelings either way? I mean, I think iTunes, at inception. I mean, let's not forget it kind of basically radicalized the music industry when it first came out, because it was sort of the way that it allowed digital media to become a thing. In the hands of everybody. iPad was everywhere. Not iPad. iPod was everywhere, which is no longer a thing. What are your thoughts? Have you got any strong feelings?
Well, first of all, they just put out a new iPod, but we'll get to that in a minute. As relates to your question, we saw this coming because for a long time the conversation has been about how they're trying to unify the code base between iOS development and macOS development. And at this developers conference, they did spend some time describing their efforts in that area, and that they seem to be getting very close to that. So they broke it up in iOS a couple of versions ago into the 3 apps that we're talking about. And now they're just now Catalina breaks it up in the Mac world, which was going to have to happen if you're going to unify the code base across the 2 platforms. So none of this is a surprise. As far as the syncing of iOS devices through iTunes, as I see it, it's essentially the same thing, except it happens in a Finder window.
Right.
It's really no different. They've just sort of broken it out and stuck it in the Finder software, and they've broken out the music playback and stuck it over here, and the podcasts and stuck it over there, and the TV and stuck it over here, and off you go. And it also matches more closely what they're representing in the TV OS. So they're basically bringing all the OSs. They're using good ideas from each OS in terms of trying to organize all 3 of them. I'm with Gaz on the enthusiasm for the interfacing with the iPad, especially with respect to using it as a second screen in a Mac OS environment, and the possibilities of using it as a touch interface, because everybody's been whining about not having touch on Apple computers, which we have on Windows computers, and this might actually bring that into the play as well. And so a lot of really cool various OS, all the OSs have been developed, and I thought it was a really successful, I mean, as far as the products, the whole atmosphere and party thing, and the toadies in the audience, and the whole thing is a bit of a, dog and pony show. But besides that, all the products they showed were really, and ideas they described, seemed to be really cool to me.
Well, no, that's good to know. I mean, yeah, I think if we get get the opening up of the file exchange, I mean, that's just going to make everything just useful. I mean, we had to set up this ridiculous network. I had to buy a network adapter for an iOS device to gigabit, running it through a separate router so that I could get files in and out of the iPad quicker than just using Wi-Fi, because Wi-Fi is just not fast enough for moving big files. It takes too long, and it's so yeah. Maybe we'll get some movement finally there, right?
Yeah, hopefully. I've got one question. Because they're taking the movie element out of iTunes, so before I could just go into iTunes and I could just browse what movies you can just watch and download and stream, right? So does that mean now I've got to own an Apple TV only to view them, or is there going to be an Apple TV app on the Mac OS for me to navigate and sort of search through that?
I can't give you the answer. I can't give you the answer to that. I'm afraid I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No, but
that does raise it.
Go on, Gaz.
Well, I was going to say that leads on to that other thing. Is like, I've spent years cultivating my iTunes library. So
yeah, what
happens to my library? Does that then just get readable in the music? That entire library. I mean, gosh, and that goes back 16 years or something.
The terrifying concept of having everybody who's got these network attached storage that iTunes can read, all of those little API kind of calls between devices, like like Spotify being able to read it, or not Spotify. What are those? The Sonos. All of this is going to have to be updated so it all works. It's just that is inevitably going to be a nightmare. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. It probably will.
We've just got the Amazon devices. You can now stream Apple Music on them. I don't know if you know, but that's only been 3 or 4 months down the line, I think, since you could do that. You could do it in the US.
Britain, no.
You can't. Yeah, in Britain now.
You can.
It was in the US. Yeah, we're back. It's working in Britain. I use it now.
Cool.
It came out about 3 or 4 months ago, Gaz. But yeah, it was in the US, wasn't it, for about a year or so? And we was like, why isn't it in the UK? Yeah. But now you can go and you can set that as your default player. So if you're an Apple Music listener like I am, you can listen to that through your Amazon devices, if that's of use. But yeah, I think it's just a response from Apple. Basically, they started something that was predominantly, it had one function, and it's grown and grown and grown as their business has grown and as technology has grown and demands from us have grown, and it just got bloated. And now I can see why they're segregating it all out as they move forward. So yeah, I think it's a good thing, and I'm definitely with Gaz on this whole reading of drives and that kind of thing, because it was
it's
a bit
my
of a turn
data
off.
And my device. What's the problem?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Yes, I would agree. Well, I mean, I don't want to kind of get too Apple-ified, because I know, but WWDC is always a big one. But quite often, what happens is there's very little to talk about. There might be, but this time they've done quite a lot of updatings, and I think it's going to affect a lot of either end of what we do, both the creation and the delivery of the kind of stuff that we're involved in as musicians and creative sort of professionals. So that's the interesting part, I think, about the whole thing. And what definitely one to watch is just whether or not they can handle the rollout of it to all the other affected parties, so that it's not just, okay, the only way to do this is to subscribe. And that's the other thing that's a bit, yet another subscription. They're trying to move more people to subscriptions, as everybody is. It's the easiest way to project your business income and outcome is by running subscriptions. But it's for the end user, it's a pain. There's how many subscriptions do you need just to maybe watch this? Yeah. That? Anyway, that's not going to get in there too much. Has anybody got anything else they wanted to talk about before we head off into the sunset? Because I know it's got to 5 o'clock nearly already.
On the Beatport thing, like happening for DJs as a subscription model now, and that's kind of a big threat to, or potentially a big threat to the DJ culture, because typically the streaming kind of world hasn't really affected DJs, but I think Beatport is now going to offer some kind of streaming service too.
That could be awkward, couldn't it? Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but yeah, that's probably worth checking out at some point. But I don't. Anybody else got any other extras before we sign off? Nope. Okay, I think that seems like everybody has pondered. Everybody's pondered well, thank you, folks. I mean, that's again. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you do want to check out the Isotope RX7 tools. In fact, if you want to enter the competition, I'll just give that another plug. We're looking for the hashtag RXCanFixIt as one word, and the hashtag RX7 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. That's a Twitter competition. You enter that, you'll be drawn next week, or entered into the draw. And of course, do check out the Softube's Parallel synth. It is really good sounding and very atmospheric. Again, synth. There's sort of quite a lot in the world of the Chernobyl soundtrack, in fact, but I'm fairly sure they didn't sample any of the power station stuff. So that's kind of it for this week. I want to say goodbye to everybody. Rich, I hope your gig goes well tonight. I guess you just saunter up, have a bite to eat, and then rock the venue, right?
Yeah, something like that. Venue's right there.
Oh, brilliant.
Right out the window. The venue is right there. 8:30 show. Looking forward to it. Love playing in Ireland. The people here love this music, much like where you live, and it's great.
Excellent. Well, I hope you have a wonderful show and everything is all super duper as ever, as I'm sure it will be, because you're all such professionals. Nice to see you, Rich.
Thank
and
you.
Of course,
Nice seeing you.
Yes, it is nice to see you too. And while you're this side of the Atlantic, maybe we'll catch up with another couple of times.
I have to talk to you about that.
Okay. All right. Cool. That
Later,
sounds good.
off the air.
Okay.
Have
Brilliant.
a great show, Rich.
And yes, and Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
There's no problem. And Matt Hodson, also thanks for joining us. It's been a while since we've had you, so hopefully we'll get to see you again soon.
Thanks for having us. It's been good. I'm going to play with this module I've got on loan, this Percussa SSP, which sounds absolutely amazing. I'm going to do some videos on this soon. I've just built a polyphonic synth in it, but it does so many different things. So, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Are you doing any live streaming stuff, or is this going to be up on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, be up on my YouTube channel. I'm just about to move house and move studio as well and all that kind of thing.
God.
So everything's, I know.
Again?
A biggie.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right. Okay. Well,
I think there'll be small live streams and what have you. But...
See you in 6 months then, maybe.
Yeah, right. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Matt. And also, Gaz Williams, thank you for joining us as well. Always a pleasure to have you aboard. Your video's looking very good today, actually. Your bandwidth is really killing it.
Oh, good. So here's a little hint about what's coming up soon.
That sounds like an 808. Excellent. Yes, I think we might be having a little look at that Behringer business, right?
Mm-hmm. Coming up soon. Coming up. Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that was
so
episode 578 Sonic Talk. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye now.